Alex, we are kind of cementing upon something that we did very well in Friday's session, which is get the finance minister's interview first up across any private network in the country.
Absolutely, Neeraj. You heard her first on this channel and on this platform, and the finance minister spoke exclusively to NDTV Network's editor-in-chief Sanjay Pugalia, and in that chat she underlined the reason why her government, her administration, chose to be prudent and pragmatic rather than populist in the interim budget just months before the general elections. We're going to break down some of those big statements and talk about the implications for companies and in extension, therefore, to the markets. Joining us on this editor's cut, we've got Sanjay Pugalia and we've also got Neeraj Shah. Sanjay, the first thing that stood out to me, of course, was the statement on confidence, and I think that was your question to her as well, because she's chosen a fiscal glide path that a lot of people did not expect. How significant is that statement on confidence heading into the general election?
Yeah, every engine of economy, the way it is firing and looking at 7% GDP, I think the government is very confident of achieving that target without any fiscal slippages. And in any way, we know from Gujarat days that Mr. Modi is a strict stickler of fiscal discipline. So that is what is reflected in this budget. Before elections, one expects to splurge a bit more, spend a bit more money on populist schemes. This government has done nothing of such sort. So it is a good sign that Indian economy will not be growing on steroid, but on organic strength.
The statement that was made on capital expenditure is quite significant as well, Sanjay. What you asked was whether or not the government is not spending enough. That, I think, the answer to that was quite interesting.
Yeah, actually, I think they are so confident about elections that election was not in their mind when they were writing this interim budget speech and planning for this budget speech. Soon after the election, the indication by finance minister was very clearly that if there is a requirement, funds will not be an issue and we can increase the capex. She, of course, justified that 30% and 35% increase in last 2 years was on a narrow base. So 11% is not a small number. I think it is a small number, the kind of requirement our growth targets have. We need a little more aggressive capex, especially on public expenditure, especially focused on infrastructure. But the indication by finance minister was that in the final budget in July, we may see a hike.
Mr. Pugalia, just Neeraj here. Good morning. Just one question. In some sense, did you get a feel that she also referred to the absorption capacity of the country or the states in particular in order to absorb the capex? That, you know, budget mein numbers rakhna ek baat hai, but never mind a tall number. They are not hitting the mark this year as well because the absorption of the states isn't quite as much as people would like to believe.
You are absolutely right. And that is the pragmatism. Rather than throwing big numbers at us, finance minister clarified this, that at state level, execution level, at capacity level, how much absorption can happen in a given period of time. And that is why their realistic calculations suggest that this money is enough. In any case, if there are more projects coming in and that they have to go for, they will be very happy to support that. That is the general mood in Delhi.
I wanted to ask on divestment, in fact.
That's what I also want to ask. But
please go
Alex,
ahead.
okay,
no,
fine. Okay, the other question that came out seems to be that every year, मुझे पता है कि हम सब लोग divestment को number को लेके, you know, we used to focus के what is the number coming or is it missing, getting missed, etc. क्या आपको ये लगा in your conversation that the FM was trying to indicate that, you know, don't be obsessed with a particular number because there may not be a particular number now every given year because we'll use divestment as and when we believe the timing is right, not because the budget math requires a number from divestment.
Exactly, वो divestment की funding से budget को बिल्कुल अब delink कर चुके हैं और ये थोड़ा सा मुझे लगता है नीरज की एक हम लोगों का पुराना mindset है कि एक number चाहिए, budget speech में चाहिए, और वो कमिटमेंट बता देंगे तो हम मान लेंगे कि डाइवेस्टमेंट हो जाएगा। ऐसा पास्ट ईयर्स में हुआ भी नहीं है। इसीलिए मुझे लगता है ये रियलिस्टिक अप्रोच को एक्सप्लेन करने की कोशिश कर रही थी फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर, जब वो कह रही थी कि पब्लिक इंटरप्राइजेस के लिए 21 में जो फ्रेमवर्क बना था उसमें आइडिया ये था कि कंपनीज को पहले ठीक किया जाए, मार्केट पर्सपेक्टिव से ठीक किया जाए, न सिर्फ इंटरनल प्रोसेसेस ठीक हो, मार्केट को वैल्यूएशन पसंद आनी चाहिए, वो कॉम्पिटेंस पसंद आना चाहिए, और उसके बाद हम हमेशा देख सकते हैं कि हमको सिर्फ पैसे डिविडेंड से उठाने हैं या एक्चुअली कुछ सेल भी कर लेना है। तो बहुत गार्डेड थी वो, लेकिन उसमें मुझे ये समझ में आता है कि जब जरूरत पड़ेगी तो इनके पास बहुत सारे पीएसयूज ऐसे हैं जिसका पार्शियल या फुल डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट ये सोच सकते हैं गोइंग फॉरवर्ड, लेकिन उस पर ये लोग कॉशियस हैं और उनको लगता है कि ये काम ऐसा है कि जिसको जब बहुत बड़े किसी प्लेटफॉर्म पे किसी इवेंट पे हम बात कर रहे हैं तो डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट की डिबेट को ला करके उसको फोकस से डिस्ट्रैक्ट कर दें, क्योंकि इनका फोकस 2047 है, इनका फोकस अगला इलेक्शन है, इनका फोकस 7% जीडीपी है, और उसमें फंडिंग कैसे होगी ये एक इनको लगता है कि टेक्निकल बातचीत है, उस पर अभी क्यों जाएं। तो मेरा ये मानना है कि डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट का टारगेट हम लोगों का पुराना अप्रोच है इस सरकार की डिसीजन मेकिंग को समझने के लिए। जरूरत पड़ने पर ये लोग डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट करेंगे ऐसा मुझे लगता है, और वो नंबर कमिट नहीं करना चाहते ताकि उनके हाथ में फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी रहे।
That is one thing, sir. The flexibility is one thing, but the other thing, Sanjay, and what she alluded to is the requirement to fix certain internal processes with PSUs, and the fact that in certain situations the market is not valuing these companies how they should be valued. She spoke about LIC when she gave the example, and she said she's fixed certain issues, and that is reflected in the price. The fact that it is now crossed its issue price once again seems to suggest that some of those processes that were fixed have now been recognized by the market. But what was the aspect that she was talking about with regard to the valuations of the other PSU companies?
Yeah, of course, she wouldn't go in the details of specific sector or companies, but government, it seems, what she was trying to suggest is that it is very keen that every PSU should command a great valuation. To do that, a lot of background work has to be done. So market likes, international investors like, and then they can choose their own time when to go for disinvestment.
Last thing that I wanted to raise is a very short answer that she gave you on the PPP side. And it's interesting that she's saying, "मैं सुझाव ले लूंगी," you know, in that, and I'm struggling with the Hindi. You can explain it better. But what was the point that you were making?
एक्चुअली क्या है कि ये इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का जो काम है इंडिया में जिस तेजी से होना चाहिए वो गवर्नमेंट अकेले कर रही है, कॉन्फिडेंस बना दिया है, इंटरनेशनल कम्युनिटी को भी पसंद आ रहा है, लेकिन इंडिया के जो कॉरपोरेट्स हैं वो कैश फाइल पे बैठे हुए हैं, उनको ये कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं हो रहा कि वो भी इस काम में हाथ लगाएं, स्पेशली इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के स्पेस में। उसका जो सबसे बड़ा रोड ब्लॉक है वो है जो प्राइवेट पब्लिक पार्टनरशिप के डॉक्यूमेंटेशन है, जो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है, जो लीगल ऑब्लिगेशंस हैं, वो इतने कॉम्प्लेक्स है कि वो बड़ा डिटरेंट है। ये बात पुरानी है, इस पर करीब करीब 100 लोगों में एग्रीमेंट भी है। तो without committing, what finance minister very generously indicated that, yeah, I like your suggestion, I take your suggestion, and this is an area where some work has to be done. ये उनके कहने का मतलब था। तो मैं समझता हूं कि अब इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को जो बूस्ट देने की जरूरत है, क्योंकि वो बहुत तेजी से जॉब क्रिएट करता है, और जॉब क्रिएशन जैसा फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर ने खुद ही कहा कि प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी के लिए बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट होता है कि कोई भी प्रोजेक्ट आप कर रहे हैं तो उसमें जॉब कितने क्रिएट होंगे। अगर ये भी फिल्टर है तो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर तो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट सेक्टर है। टूरिज्म और सोलर एनर्जी के जो नए प्रोजेक्ट आ रहे हैं उसका भी जिक्र जब उन्होंने किया तो आप मान के चलिए कि जॉब क्रिएशन उसके पीछे एक बड़ा फिल्टर है। पीपीपी में मुझे लगता है कि प्राइवेट सेक्टर को अट्रैक्ट करने के लिए चेंजेस की जरूरत है, और विदाउट गिविंग एनी कमिटल रिप्लाई फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर वाज वेरी रिसेप्टिव to this suggestion coming from all stakeholders that this needs to be fixed.
Okay, fair point. You know, there was also an interesting statement that was made on the housing program, or the projected or the proposed housing program. Let's listen to what she had to say in that interview.
हाउसिंग का विषय पीएम आवास, ग्रामीण वगैरह हो रही है, वो गरीब के लिए। इससे बढ़ करके एक 45 लाख का अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग स्कीम भी है, उसमें इंटरेस्ट सबवेंशन भी मिलता है, टैक्स कट छूट भी मिलता है, मगर इन दोनों के बीच में रेंटल हाउस में रहने वाले, रेगुलर नहीं हुआ ऐसे कॉलोनी में रहने वाले, या चौल जैसे मुंबई में रहने वाले, वो गरीब के हिसाब किताब में नहीं आता, 45 लाख के घर में नहीं आता, उनके लिए क्या? इसीलिए माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी रिपब्लिक डे के दिन रेड फोर्ट के परिसर से यही 4 वर्गों को वर्णन भी किए कि आप किराए वाले मकान में रह रही हो, या चौल में रह रही हो, या इरेगुलर कॉलोनीज में रह रही हो.
So that was just an inkling of what perhaps the government is planning. No key details yet. And that's interesting, right? Sanjay, she's not talked about key details, and there's just a couple of months to the elections. Is it possible that something is going to be launched in the interim?
That will be very difficult to guess, but she mentioned about PM's speech. She gave details that shows how they are looking at the problem. And the articulation suggests that how much homework might have already gone behind planning this. So I am definitely expecting the details of it to come out soon. And it is clearly targeted at migrating population of India to big urban centers and the challenges of housing and rent and land. And it is very clear that government is going to attack this from all corners. Exact timing, I won't be able to predict. But I think this is next big agenda after Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana at bottom of pyramid. This is the next level where government will focus, because this is the population which is meaningfully busy in Indian economic activities.
Absolutely. Sanjay, thanks so much for breaking all of that down for us and joining us on the Editor's Cut this morning.